If we keep it real, y'all, living life God's way is hard. Sometimes you want to quit. Sometimes you don't know what's going on. Sometimes you're uncomfortable. And for every entrepreneurial mind, you want to make sure you're tuned in here today. You all know who I am. I am attorney Jamila Moore, and I help you start, structure, and grow your businesses. And then I also help you legally protect them through trademarks, contracts, and copyright so that you are out here not riding dirty. And today I have a special guest with me, an amazing woman, an amazing mom, an amazing boss, an amazing CEO in her own right, Lucretia Williams. Now I call her Cree. So yeah, put Cree in the comments if you want to or not. But Cree, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to be at this place in life.
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you for the opportunity to come on your podcast and just talk about my journey, whatever it is we're going to talk about. I like to say all bets are off. We can talk about anything. But basically, just a little bit about me. So, my name is Lucretia, and yes, people do call me Cree. I think it's easier. I think people say, "Girl, your name's too long." I'm gonna just go ahead and call you Cree. So I am a coach, transformational speaker, and basically what my purpose is I'm really guiding our young females. And why do I do that is because um I share my journey, right? And because I'm a person that been through a lot of like trials and tribulations, and the best teacher is sometimes when you go through it and you have to learn from it. And so I found my purpose to be that I'm very passionate about really guiding and helping our young females to really not make the same mistakes that I did, and really live a life that I did. And so I am a coach specifically right now. And I'm in the lane of really guiding our teenage girls and trying to help stray them away right now where they are feeling very like influenced right now, or they're easily influenced right now, but really like helping our teenagers and guide them so that they are living a life of prosperity, they are living God's way, and really also focusing on our parents that are raising teenagers and helping them break generational strongholds in order to better support their teens.
That's so amazing because we are our kids today are growing up in very different times with the use of
Absolutely.
social media, with the
Mm,
use of TV shows. Like even when I just think about like sometimes like how you had to be a certain age to get a ponytail or something like that.
mhm.
Everything is happening much faster for this generation. And when
Yeah.
we think about like living God's way, when would you say you had your adult introduction to God? Because you have it as a kid sometimes, but when he comes back to you as an adult, it's
Yeah.
totally different.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I remember. So just a little background. Of course, I've explained to you, but I would love to explain to the audience. Of course, I stated just a little bit earlier. I was living a life of destruction. Um, I was I was an exotic dancer. I started when I was 21. I had my daughter when I was 19. I kind of went that route when I was tired of working. I was like, okay, I need something to do where I feel like, okay, I'm in college. And then, I was tired of my job. I hated it. And so I was like, okay, what can I do right now that I can, be the mother I need to be to my daughter, and I can still go to school. And I was like, okay, I'll go the route of exotic dancing. I'll do that at nighttime. And so basically on that path, you get introduced to so many things. And I explain, like, I mean, the drinking every night. I mean, people asking you if you want to do different drugs, right? And just the company, just the whole environment is not the best of environment. And I always say, I don't knock the girls that do it now. It's just that what I learned, it just wasn't that. It was a part of my journey, but I never was meant to be in that. vicinity. And so I remember when my mom was still living, she asked me to come to like her church. And I remember I did not like her church, right? And I was like, oh my God, like I really don't want to go, but I'm gonna just go to, to her church. And so I remember going, and I was at a point in my life where I was actually tired of the lifestyle. And I had a lot of people telling me, like, you're better than this. I don't know why you're here. And I think at that point I started seeing better in myself. I started asking myself, like, why are you here? What are you still here for? And because I was at a point where you couldn't tell me that you're not going to do this anymore. I was like, I make a lot of money. Like, why would I not do this? And nothing else makes sense. And so I remember I came to a place of like, okay, no, you really don't belong here anymore. And so when I went to her church, I never forget that at the end where they pray for you, and I went up for prayer. And so I remember the pastor taking my hand, and she said, what do you want to pray for? And I said, I want to change my lifestyle. Like I don't want to dance anymore. And I remember, this was so funny, I remember she laughed, right? And she said, oh sugar, I used to be a dancer too. And so it was kind of like divine intervention. Like, okay, like I didn't feel like, nervous about it anymore. It was just, she made me feel so comfortable. And she's a pastor, so she's like, oh, sugar, I used to dance back in my day too. And so we laughed about it, and she prayed for me. And ever since, I remember like really moving towards a path of getting away from it. And as I was going on my journey of, I had set a date, and I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. I called it like a retirement. Like, it was a retirement. And I remember I performed for the last time, and I left the scene. And of course, we know though that when you're trying to do something for the better, the devil attacks. And so the devil started attacking me, and I felt like it was one of those things where, do you go back or do you move forward? Do you
Mm-hmm.
follow me or do you not trust me? And I feel like I was like, it's no way that I could go back. So I kind of, the things was happening. And I think one of the things that I explained was like my lights got cut off. And that was to me like a test. Okay, your lights are off. Your light bill is due. What are you gonna do? Do you trust me to guide you, or do you go back? Right. So I remember just trusting God, and I was like, I'm finding a job. I remember I asked my mother, because she watched my daughter for a few days, like, let me get some things together. And so and of course I ended up getting my lights cut back on, but that was like a test where I felt like God is like, okay, do you trust me? And something else happened where my ex, he ended up committing suicide, and he said he would help me when I had just stopped dancing. A month later, he committed suicide. So the person that said that they was going to help me, they're not here anymore, right? And so now I'm dealing with the tragedy of that, and now feeling like the person that said that he was going to help me, I don't have that no more. So now what do you do now? And so that was my, I felt like it was so clear to me that God was saying, I need you to trust me no matter what. I have your back. And from that point moving forward, I was trusting God. And ever since, I felt like my life has been amazing. Like, I've seen God do things and have given me a constant reminder of, this is why I pulled you out, and this is why you're not going back to that lifestyle. So,
That No, that was so powerful, and I think there are a lot of keys that we could kind of pull out of that in
mhm,
terms of living life God's way. Like when you started to first have the awakening, like
yeah,
my life as now cannot be anymore, right? And while your awakening was being an exotic dancer, somebody else awakening may be like, I don't need to go out clubbing and drinking. Like, and sometimes we like to compare sins and give them like, oh, that's a C sin, that's an F sin, but all
yeah,
sin is
yeah,
the same. And
yeah,
so it's just like, this is the sin that was happening in everyone's life at some point,
mhm,
and there came about something internal that said, like, man, I have to make a shift. I have to make a change. And
yeah,
then one of the keys was you went to the right place because there was an invitation by someone safe in your life. And then when you went to the right place, it was a safe space and non-judgmental space for you, right? And we
Mhm.
could almost argue that it was a divine moment. Like, how could that be? Like, um,
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's just like wow. And then even how you have talked about, okay, so boom, I trust you. I take the first leap because living life God's way
Mhm.
means taking continuous leaps. I
Yes.
mean, I don't know how many more leaps. I mean, I guess I'll be leaping forever. What's that song? Walking and
Yeah.
leaping and praising God. They ain't never lied because you are walking and leaping with God
Ooh.
for the
Mhm.
rest of your life. And it's
Yes.
just like, man, and one of the things that I want to like commend you on, because some of us may never learn this
Mhm.
until our 30s, our 40s. In your 20s, you were able to understand that God is my source.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that
And
key.
yeah, and I always say it's like I knew God was my source when I didn't have anything else. Like
Mm,
even my spiritual walk, I feel like was really just beginning. Like I always went to church, right? Like I went to church when I grew up, going to church and it's like you don't know, or at least let me speak for me. I didn't know until because I feel like I was choosing to have God in my life, right? Like at this point, I had
mm,
no choice but to have God when I walked away and left everything. Did not even have any money because let me backtrack. My lights were cut off because I mismanaged my money. And so now when you at a point where, okay, I don't have no choice but to trust God at this point, I have a choice. But I'm glad that it was that way because as I grew my walk with him and I became like my relationship became stronger, now I get to look back at those moments and like God ain't leave you. He pulled you out of that. He gonna pull you out of everything else. So if you can get out of that and be headstrong and and God supported you or he guided you to change your lifestyle and to never look back, he's gonna keep doing it for you. No matter where you
yeah. Yeah, he's going to keep doing it for you. And I think sometimes when you're living life God's way, the circumstances could become so intense that you
are.
will forget that it is literally him who will do it again. And it's just like, I think about the scripture where it says to walk in spirit and in truth, but a lot
Mhm.
of times the enemy comes in and he presents facts and realities. And
Yeah,
so you leave truth, you leave the spirit, and you come down to the enemy's playing ground. And then he starts to play with your mind
yeah,
and you lose your trust in God. And
yeah.
so the thing that's like super duper important
Mhm,
for us as individuals is like to commit to being like, what is happening, what am I thinking about what's happening, how is this impacting my emotions? Okay, so what's the truth of God about this? There was a moment the other day where it was just like I could only focus on the facts, and
mhm,
it was nothing I could do but focus on the facts.
mhm,
Do was say, "Help me, God, help me, God, help me, God," and that wasn't working. But right now, I have Isaiah 41:10-13 on my
mhm.
wall, and then I will just say, "He's my God. I fear
Yeah,
not, or be dismayed. He will lift me with His right hand." Like, and
mhm.
I personalized it. Like, I didn't read it as if it was like a scripture. Like, no,
Yeah,
my Father will lift
yeah.
me. I
Mhm.
because He is coming for me.
Yeah,
And so, when you walk with that level of trust, whether you're about to be back on the street or whatever, it will encourage you to keep going. And this past year, I've had so many of those moments where it's just like,
mhm.
it's either about to go all the way down or I'm
Yep,
about to see a miracle.
absolutely. Yeah, you're not lying about that.
And it's to your point of how you said there is no choice. There's no choice but the choice of God. And I
Exactly.
wish we could do a better job, which is why the work that you're doing is so important. because you can teach young girls, and I think it'll probably spread to even young boys,
Yeah.
um, about how to trust God from an early age, how
Yeah.
to know His plan for your life.
Mhm.
Because one of the things that you said is you grew up in church. So, why
Mhm.
is it that we grow up in church and
Mhm.
then we still don't get the right principles instilled in us to actually live life God's way
Yeah.
throughout time? And we can see it from, it don't matter if it's the anointed pastor's daughter or son, down
Mhm.
to the usher's daughter or son.
Yeah.
There's something
Mhm.
happening that we really need to look into.
Absolutely.
And, you're part of the solution. So when you go to young girls or you're talking to their parents
Mhm.
around, like, basically building their identity and empowering them not to follow culture,
Mhm.
how do you even go about that? Because culture, the weight of culture right now is very strong.
Yeah. So, of course, being a parent of a teen,
Mhm,
and I like to say this disclaimer, right? Because I don't have all the answers, right? I have the tools to coach you,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
But we still human and we deal with the same things, right? And I'm still learning as well how to navigate with my team. And so, and trying different practices. And so, like, for example, with my team, what I try to do is they're different than us, right? Now, granted, they mirror us, but they're different. And so some of the things that we used to do might not be the same things that they do, right? And I'm giving this example as well because it starts with us, right? It starts. I feel like I'm the coach that I am is because I have my team and also I raised my sister. So that was God giving me my purpose right there before I even started coaching the young ladies. And so when I think of like my daughter, right, I remember she had said something to me to the extent of she said, yeah, it's, I was talking to this boy, he's my friend. And, she started talking to me about him. And so I said, okay, I said, so this is my question for you. I said, do you like him? Like, do you really like him? Or do you like him because he's showing you attention? Because it's a difference.
mm,
And so one of the things that I had to do, what I had to do differently is sometimes I think back to me as being a teenager and I remember like our parents like, what are you doing with that boy? Why are you talking to him? Right. And sometimes, and I used to be sneaky too when I was a teen, right? And so, and so sometimes I have to realize too that don't take that approach with my daughter, by constantly like, oh, what do you like him? Well, what do you like about him? Like that interrogating thing,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Because
mhm,
what it really is that you're acting out of fear, right? Like I'm afraid, like, oh my God, she's really about to like this boy. Oh my God, what if he hurt her? Right. And so I think that we have to change our approach because instead of acting out of fear or acting out of thinking of what we were doing on my
mm,
time, right? Like, no, let's take a different approach. So first I want to ask you, do you like him for him or do you like him for the attention because it's different, right? And so how I try to, because these young ladies they're influenced by like social media.
mhm,
They're influenced, like sometimes if they might not feel the love within themselves, the intention could suffice.
mhm,
And I
mhm,
know that because as a person who did not grow up with her father in her life, as a person that loved the attention that I received, like I held on to that attention and
mhm.
have healed from that. Because just because somebody was showing me that, it did not mean that they like you.
It showed on.
So it's just basically trying to take a different approach with these young ladies. So instead of like kind of being an interrogator, let's talk through this, right? And let's get down to the bottom of it because you can like somebody. That's normal for you to like somebody. But let's talk about this, right? And I want to give you the tools in
Yes.
order to respect yourself, to love
Mm,
yourself, right? And also to understand and discern if this person is for you or do they want something from you. So that's what I help my young ladies with. But I always say it starts at home with me too. And I'm experiencing it with my teenager.
Listen, I just want to let you know you are not just helping teenagers, you're helping the teenage girl that never grew up in adult women.
Yes, yes. Oh, I felt
And
that.
so, like, even just expanding your conversations beyond just teens,
Mhm.
like, you speak to the little girl who never got to grow up.
Mhm.
It is probably a 60-year-old woman that
Mhm.
is still liking a man because of attention,
Mhm.
right? And one of the things you said, do you like him for him or what he's going to get? Does he like you for you or does he want something from you?
Yeah.
And a lot of one of the things that I feel like Holy Spirit pointed out to me
Mhm.
that a lot of people aged, but
Mhm.
they didn't really grow up.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
so they were at a place in a place where I did these things, I aged, I hit all of these milestones, but the little girl didn't learn the things that she needed to learn to become the young woman, and the
Yeah.
young woman to evolve into the mature woman, and the
Yeah.
mature woman to evolve into the seasoned woman. And
Yeah.
so I feel like there then becomes some type of disconnect with the generations when we've gone out there to find our identity, to mature as a woman and become seasoned, and you didn't, and now there's an insecurity or a tension from what you didn't do, but
Yeah.
all you have to do is humble yourself to
Mhm.
learn and be willing to grow. And so,
Yeah.
like, as we're talking, I'm like, you are for women,
Thank you.
right? Whether they're young women or older women. And so this is something that, spans so many generations. What are you thinking? What are you feeling right
No, 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 I really appreciate that and I received that. And what I was specifically thinking about as if when you were talking was at Thrive,
now?
right? Of course, Thrive, the conference that we went to over what was that, last October when I was speaking.
Mhm,
And one of the young ladies, actually she's older, she came to me and she held my hand and she said, Lucretia, you say that you're for young women. Mm-mm.
mhm,
She said, mm-mm. She said, you spoke on our practicum that we did for our speaking training. And she said, the story you shared, she said, that's not just for young women. She said, it moved me so much. She said, and I'm laughing as she's saying it, she said, it's for old heads like myself.
mhm,
And she said, them young females don't just need to hear that. Women my age need to hear this. And she was saying, don't stop what you're doing. Please keep sharing your story and your journey because you do not, you have no idea how much you bless my life and how much I will never forget your transparency and the story you shared. And I always remember that. And fast forward, it was a young lady. She was one of my employees, and she came in a new training class, and she said to me, she said, can you come here for a second? I like spoke at their graduation and everything, and she said, can you come here for a second? She said, I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble or not, but I'm gonna just have to risk it at this point. She said, I have been following your Instagram page ever since we started working here. And she said, I know I'm not supposed to be following you on Instagram. And she said, but the content and the stuff that you put out is so powerful. She said, you are not just for young women. Like, you have no idea how much of an inspiration that you are to me. And she said, I went through all your stuff and looked at it. She was quoting back to me some stuff that I was saying that I forgot that I posted it, right? And she was like, please don't ever stop what you doing. She said, I'm telling you, you're not just for young women. I needed to hear that. And so, like, hearing those things, I'm like, man, I think I was undermining myself. That's one. But two, I am not just limited to that space. And I had to realize that you're not just, it's not just the young females that's seeing you, it's everybody that's
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah, you are seen. And I think as we like talk about living life God's way,
you. Mhm.
a lot of people like to quote like the prayer of Jabez, like
Mhm.
enlarge my territory. But
Mhm.
are you postured or in position to even have your territory enlarged? Have
Yeah.
you done the work and invested in yourself to
Mhm.
be proven for influence and impact of others? And I want to like lean in here because I don't want a man to turn off or a man to think that he shouldn't be listening to this because you
Oh,
probably have a
absolutely.
mother,
Mhm.
probably have a sister, you
Mhm.
may have a daughter. Who knows what woman you have in your life? You may actually want to marry a woman or maybe married. And
Mhm.
you have to be able to understand where that woman is as she's growing up.
Yeah. Yes. Funny story is when I first transitioned from like leaving the strip clubs, and as I done went on my journey, like I'm an author, so like writing my book about my story around exotic dancing, and like I said, it was clear that God was on my life because the success after I left and how my life really turned around. I think people were really looking at that, and some people like remember me from there, and
Hmm.
they see me, to now, even though it's been 8 years later,
Hmm.
nine, maybe almost nine. March will be nine. 9 years later. um, Even like the guys that have known me, when I came out with my book, the guys were supporting me, right? Because you know what they told me? This not just for dancers that's in that setting. This for guys that's like drug dealers.
Mm.
He was like, it's the same thing. Like trying to get out of that lifestyle of the fast money. And
Mhm.
so I had one guy, like he will support me to the end. Like anything he reached out to me not too long ago. He said, "Hey, you got any books on you?" I said, "What would you mean?" He said, "It's on Amazon, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, I'm sending it to my homeboy that's locked up." I said,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I always I cherish those things. Because it just goes to show like guys are supporting my journey too. And I've even had guys tell me when they read my book, they said, I had no idea that this was the lifestyle that I was contributing to. I did not know everything that happened
Mm.
behind the scenes. And I'm encouraging this lifestyle by coming in there and, throwing the money, tipping these females. Like, so I've had not only females say, you are very powerful, but I had guys like really support me and what I have been doing and following me and still tell me like I'm so proud of what you're doing. And have referred me to, I mean, they say, I got a daughter. Can you speak to her, please? Like the women in their lives, they always, I really had guys that really say, hey, I have a young lady. Can you please be her mentor? She's on the right path, but she needs some guidance. And I think you're the perfect person. So I really appreciate those people that always look at my journey and just say, I could really use you for something. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, as we think about living life God's way, we have
Hmm.
to remember God's design for life. And he calls us the body of Christ. And
Hmm.
so that means that our level of functionability at whatever height or optimization that it should be
Hmm.
has an impact on the other parts of the body. And if
Yeah.
you don't function properly, then the body can't really function properly. And
Hmm.
what I like about the males coming in to support is that they understand that there is this heightened level of responsibility that we
Hmm.
all kind of owe to each other, but we
Yeah.
don't recognize that we're walking around damaging people. And
Hmm.
one of the most dangerous things that we hear people say, well, that's just me. This is just who I am. I've been
Mm,
this way for X amount of years. Newsflash, you are out of biblical alignment because
yes,
be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So for
yes.
years, you have not renewed your mind, but you
Mhm.
probably sit there self righteous,
Yeah.
thinking you are better than other people when you haven't moved in years, when you haven't
Yeah.
transitioned in years. So in reality, you are hurting the body.
Yeah. You are preaching. You are preaching.
So
Oh my God. Yes. You have hit that head on. Yes. Absolutely.
it,
Absolutely.
and so we have to kind of take a note out of the page of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ when it comes to us understanding
Mhm.
that he had to live in a way, one, knowing he was coming to his demise and it was a
Mhm.
gruesome demise.
Yeah.
Two, knowing he was doing it for other people,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Three, hanging out with the people who wouldn't support him in his time of need,
Mhm.
training them to then do the same thing, right? And then walking selflessly and continuing to steal away to be better so that he could meet his purpose. And
Mhm.
so, like what we see with you, with what you're sharing here today, what we see with me and how I show up, week after week, is
Yeah.
that we are committing to going to the place to be the people that we're supposed to be
Mhm.
to help the body function.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm. And I'm thinking too of how what that process looks like, right? Because people will never know what exactly that process looks like, right? But it's all in how we show up and what we choose to share. And that's why I feel the need to be as transparent as possible, because it might look nice, it might sound nice. Oh, that's good. She left that. But man, the mental part of it, right? The people that drag your name through the mud because they don't want to see you do better. And they try to drag you. I mean, the people that said to me, "You leaving? You'll be back." They always come back. I needed that, right? And so now we get to a different place. And now people see the success. And those same people that said I would be back say, "Girl, I'm so proud of you." Right? But as you stated, if we're mirroring Jesus, right? That gruesome part. Oh my God, PD has said the other day, and this just came to me. One of my oh my God, because I don't want to mess it up, and I don't want to butcher it. But basically, he said one of my most transformative moments. I think he said, I'm sorry. Someone is at the front door. That's my doorbell. Uh, he said my most transformative moments came from the other side of pain. And he was not lying about that. That pain, and I'm thinking about what you just stated as far as Jesus dealing with the gruesomeness of what he was dealing with. And when you coming out of stuff and you are a transformational person that's trying to overcome these obstacles, because not only is it just you physically coming up out, it's mental too, of the
Mhm,
thoughts of, oh my God, you have no idea where God is leading you. You just trusting.
mhm, mhm,
Right? And so the mental thoughts of like, okay, I don't know. What should I be doing? You sure I shouldn't just go back for another month? Oh my God, I didn't have this much money saved. You sure you want me to sit here with my lights out like this? It's the gruesomeness and the process of the transformation. That's what I thought about. And just that pain and everything that you deal with, but the journey and being on that other side is worth it. It's
Yeah.
really good. Mm,
Yeah, and it brings us back to the Bible where it says it was good that I
mm,
have been afflicted.
mhm,
And I remember as a like 20 something year old when God taught me a lesson that I wasn't getting out of what I was in,
mhm.
that I needed to just pray for strength to get through.
Yeah.
And even just like trying to imagine like being an assistant principal, being in law school, and still having trials and tribulations to navigate.
Mhm,
Um, and at that time, because God knows the plan and He knows what He puts in you, and we are addicted to comfort. We are
mhm.
we are our minds are wired to avoid pain, and
Yeah.
so it is in that avoiding pain that we settle for a lesser version of who we thought we were going to be. And like, I'm happy. I remember like this woman who was a direct report of mine had gone around spreading rumors about me around the school.
Mm,
And then she was trying to get me fired.
mm.
And so it was just like, all I want to do is work and change kids' lives.
Right.
You know, and I got to go to law school because this mandate is on me too. But
Mhm,
now it's equipped me to a place where I know how to manage myself and
mhm.
manage my emotions when people, I know their hearts, I know their minds towards me. You don't like me. It's okay. But guess what? I have to show up and be here. But it's
Yeah,
a lesson I had to learn at 27, which was really hard to
yeah.
get up there and lead professional development,
Mhm.
train people, give them directives.
Yep.
And, to your point, those people have come back and apologized to me
Mhm,
for
mhm,
their behavior and for believing that woman. And that woman, she went on, she got promoted and
mhm.
she stayed at that school for a while, but then one day she suddenly got fired.
Ain't that something?
And I think that speaks to some of us who may harbor bitterness and
Yeah.
unforgiveness, because
Mhm.
in this last season, when you're living life God's way, He wants you to be unoffendable.
Yes. Yeah.
Jude was his homie, and he knew he
Mhm.
was stealing the entire time. He knew Peter
Yeah.
was going to deny him.
Yeah.
And we take things so personal, and it's hard not to.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
hard not to.
Yeah.
But we have to find ways to then forgive and then put them in the place that they should be.
That part.
You
That
know,
that
that
part.
piece.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
it's so much that we could talk about for so long about living life God's
Mhm.
way. But what is one last thing you want to share with us, making sure we know?
Good question. Let me think. One thing that I would like to share. Hmm, it's a good question. I think basically I am still on the path of transformation, right? I've done a lot of work, a lot of work. I'm still on the path of transformation. And like I said, I think one of the highest forms of leadership is self leadership, right? And so, what I just want to share is that I personally feel like I'm always doing the work because I can't ask people to follow me or young females to look up to me and lead parents of teenagers or parents that's trying to break these generational strongholds if I'm not doing the work on myself. And I'm constantly trying to live God's way despite um the things that can be hard that when the devil tries to attack you, right? And that's why I always say I really always try to speak transparency because I'm not this person that's just showing up and I got it all together. Yes, I'm a coach and I'm going to give you the tools that you need, right? But I'm a constant work within myself to be the best leader that I can be and to guide you the best way possible. And I'm constantly just doing the work on myself to live God's way and to be who I need to be because I don't believe in showing up and guiding people and I'm still struggling with these certain things. Now I'm human. I'm still going to struggle with these things, but I can't tell a young lady to value and respect yourself if I'm not valuing and respecting myself.
No, that's so amazing. And, I just want to honor you and celebrate you because not many people would ever want to tell their past story,
Mhm.
right? It's probably eating someone alive right now. Choices that they made in their teens, choices that they made in their 20s. And so the
Mhm.
fact that you're able to live free, which
Mhm.
is a part of living God's way, I
Yeah.
just say thank you, right?
Thank you.
I know that there are men and women that are being freed by this because they're able to see someone just apologetically say, like, hey, if you're not careful, this is how the enemy can plant seeds that will grow roots
Yeah.
to make you think that this is a life you're supposed to have. I think about that with me, like, and I feel like I can't really be saying nothing, but it was my life, and I was the queen of a day party.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
the queen of a day party, and I remember they were trying to kick me and my friend out. We were drunk, and it was just like, she's a lawyer. I was not a lawyer yet. It was like nights, many nights like that, and doing things like that. It still wasn't operating in the identity that I needed to be in,
Yeah.
and being sober minded to make the right decisions in
Mhm.
the right moments. Because I kept saying, well, what? Why am I getting these type of guys? Like,
Yeah.
and it's
Mhm.
just like, well, ain't you drunk when you meet? Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
huh. And
Yeah.
so it's like when we are not living life God's way
Mhm.
and we make those choices in the moment,
Yeah.
um, just forgive yourself and give yourself grace when you wake up to you.
Yeah.
And
I yeah. I'm
go.
so sorry. I was just, oh my goodness, I just made a post this morning.
Hmm.
And oh my God, I just said to myself, and I'm actually going to release this post next week sometime. But I was talking about the generational strongholds, and in the next post, I was basically talking about every day I find myself waking up and saying, I hope that I'm giving my children everything that I can. I hope that I'm doing the best that I can as a mom. Um, am I know I'm a good mom to my child, I mean, sorry, my children, but am I doing this right? Am I doing this? And I had to tell myself, stop. You're doing great. You're doing amazing. Right. And I said, Cree, you are not, you are 34 now, right? You are more equipped. You are not that same mother that you were when you were 19. Give yourself some grace and acknowledge where you are now because you have came a long way from where you were. And so stop focusing on that journey, right? Like you can focus on a journey, but stop focusing on the mistakes and keep moving, the needle. Oh, I need to do this better. Look at what you're doing great right now. Look how far you came right now.
Yep.
You putting these things in place for your children. You are doing great by them,
Hmm.
despite the circumstances. So
Yep.
start focusing on who you were when you were 19 and when you were 20 and you were trying to fill your cup when your cup wasn't full. And and you was trying to grow and you outside and you doing this. I'm a different person now, and I'm doing the best that I can with my children, and my children see that. And so
Yeah.
stop focusing on the past because that don't matter.
Yeah, it's like forget the former things and go into the new. And it's just like you got to be holding to the new, like even yesterday. And
Hmm.
it's a practice that you have to do to just let go. And it
Yeah,
goes back to the very first thing that you said is learning to truly trust that God is your source, right?
yeah,
He's your source guiding you and leading you in parenting. He's your source guiding you and leading you in business. And
yeah.
so if we learn to lean and depend upon him and in all of our ways acknowledge him,
Hmm.
all of them,
Yes.
you
Heavy
know,
on the all.
heavy on the
Heavy on the
all.
all.
I get to set tripping in a minute and be like, Lord, you got to come bring me back. Uh,
Yes.
I didn't even know this was still in me like that,
Listen. Oh
but
my goodness.
you
Oh, I
know,
love it yesterday.
like and because sometimes people like, yo, you got me messed. Hold on, God,
Yeah.
I acknowledge you right now.
Yeah.
Direct me right now. Come right now. Like if you gotta bust
Yeah.
that in a prayer, bust it out.
I
Uh,
had a moment yesterday, right? Because this is funny. And look, y'all know I'm transparent. I can share this. I'm sorry. Right. I had a moment yesterday. I was in a car, and sometimes my kids' fathers don't act right, right? And I'm still working through the forgiveness part, right? Still working through the forgiveness. And I was in the car and I was going off, and I was like, God, why did he get to keep walking around here like this and ain't nothing happening? God, why you ain't do something yet? And then I said, all right, God, I'm sorry. I should not talk to you like that. You know what? Because it's in your time, and that's what it's going to be. I should worry about me. I should not worry about what you doing, whatever for somebody else. I say, God, I'm so sorry. I should not talk like that, and I will never question you again. Um, or what's going to happen with this person?
God, where is the vengeance? Said the Lord. Where is? I didn't see your vengeance on this person, God. I stepped back as long as I could, and now the enemy is trying to coach me into
Right,
vengeance. So God, I need you to move. If you could
right.
move, and then the move will move, and then we moved.
And I want to see the move. But
Oh my God. But it's so amazing that we serve a God that knows that we were thinking that, even we said it, and he's just like, oh, that one. Like,
yeah,
I really feel like sometimes he'd be like, him and Angels be up there like, yo, Jamila, wow.
yeah,
Wow, like somebody go get her. Go get her.
yeah.
We put her to sleep now, because if she come up with one more, it's gonna be a problem, you know? And so and living life God's way is fun. And I
Yeah.
remember a time
Mhm.
where I wanted no parts of it.
Yeah.
None. I didn't
Mhm.
think it was sexy. I didn't think it was appealing. Some stuff I'm still
Mhm.
like, haha, no.
Yeah.
But the greatest decision I ever made in my life was to fall in line with his plan for my
Yes.
life.
Me too. Me too.
And
One of the best decisions that you could ever make.
yeah, I'm looking at a life that I really didn't even imagine. I'm looking at a salary that he's blessed me with, because I'm not getting the clients he is.
Yeah.
Um, because even when I couldn't do anything for a time period of this year, he still provided for me.
Yeah.
And so just living in his love and dedication has
Mhm.
caused me to just really just transform and soften,
Yeah.
even in life.
I love that soften word because that's what it is. It's like a comfort.
Yeah,
That I don't have to do this by myself. I
yeah,
got a father that's he guides me. Like he's here for me. Whatever I need, I can go to him and I can say, God, please. Like it's heavy. He takes it from
hmm,
me.
yeah,
And it makes you feel like I can breathe. And I always say I feel, and I can only pray for the people that don't have a relationship because it's nothing like having that relationship with God where
hmm,
you he tells us not to worry, right? Well, you become nervous and you worry about things, and then you say, God, why am I worrying? I give it to you because you said not to worry.
hmm,
You told us not to fear.
yeah,
And so just that thought process of like, you know what, with everything, with all things, God, I give this to you. Why am I worrying about this?
yeah,
You're
yeah,
working. You're working on my behalf. And you love
hmm,
me so much. You don't want me to worry. You said I'll take it from you. So yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I think it was one morning, early morning this week. Someone said, we've gotten the Bible verse, I think it's Ephesians 3:20, where he would do exceedingly abundantly and above all that you could ask or think. And
Mhm.
they said, like, if you really like look at it, it's like if you thinking it, it's low level.
Mm.
And he could do exceedingly and abundantly and will. So once you think it, you almost have to release it, because you
Yeah.
understand that doesn't even stick in the realm in which he does things, because he does things exceedingly
Mm.
abundantly and above.
Mhm.
And so now it's like this new training that I'm trying to give myself of like, and because I'm a creative, and so I imagine things a lot, and I'm like, okay, so I know it's not coming out that way, so just sit down.
Mhm.
But it was a nice story that I built up.
Mhm.
And it's helping me to learn to trust. And even when I don't see things, because you don't see things until it suddenly shows up sometimes, God
Yeah.
has been preparing and processing and positioning things in the background.
Mhm.
And then it appears. And so it's just like, ha, in the meantime, I had to sing the other day, I won't complain.
Yeah.
No, I've had some good days. I had some bad
Mhm.
days. I am blessed beyond measure. Right?
Yes.
And the darts that the enemy throw, they pierce my skin.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm looking at the bandages, I'm putting the alcohol on it, I'm
Mhm.
upset about it.
Yep.
But then I had to understand there
Mhm.
is breath in my body.
Say that.
There is more life to
Yeah.
live.
Mhm.
I get the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. I
Yes.
get the opportunity to touch thousands of lives
Mm.
just by serving other people's businesses.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
it's just
So
like,
good.
all right, I'm gonna stop this little pity party. I'm gonna
Mhm.
stop this little whatever because I have temper tantrums. It just is what it is, adult temper tantrums.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Say
So
that. Say that.
listen, y'all, it's been great living life God's way. If you think entrepreneurship, if you know entrepreneurship is a part of you living life God's way, make sure you head over to iamandmore.com so that you could sign up for a free discovery call or just to download one of the free resources to make sure that you are investing in your next. Why? Because somebody probably is depending upon you to start and to show up at the version of you that God already created. So make sure that you get there. Remember, be more, do more, and believe more. See you all soon.